Welcome, 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 welcome. We are doing a recap. Yes, that's right. We're recapping the fifth annual Whole Woman's Wellness Conference. When I tell you, it literally was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. It was something for the books. I feel like there was so many aha moments. There were so many things that I want to take away. But the main reason I wanted to do this recap is because there were some things in some of the PowerPoint presentations and some of the speakers gave that was like homework. And I love that because I don't want to be a conference where we just get hyped about, having an aha moment. I want to have a conference where we actually have application knowledge, where we use wisdom, where we say, okay, I could take this from there and I could learn from it and I could leverage my lesson instead of allowing my lessons to continue to be something that keep on giving me lashes. But I want my lessons to be blessings. So first we're gonna have my sister, Pastor Greer. She already has what she already want to say. So I'm so excited to hear what she has. And if you can write yours in the comments. If you have some stuff that you remember, you was like, oh, I was there. Let me find in the comments. Take this time to, just like us, have a recap, kind of go back, look at your notes, and say, this was good to me too. But not only was it good to me, I'm gonna apply this. All right. Take it away, Pastor Greer.
Hey y'all, listen, I'm still feasting on the sessions that I was able to listen to, and I know every year it's going to be something or some things that will apply to my life that I can take, and that application knowledge is real. So what I loved the night that I was on, we were the whole concept of all three of us coming together, of myself, Jessica, our neighborhood therapist, and Dr. Kim, our alignment coach, was mind, body, and spirit. So you had our neighborhood therapist, Jessica, talking about the things that go on in our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, our patterns, our coping mechanisms, healthy and unhealthy. So we were talking about those. And then Dr. Kim, of course, she is a chiropractor. She is someone that is trained to like look at somebody's body and can tell like where they're off physically, and the physiological responses that we have to things, the physical responses that we have to things. Because if you're only paying attention to either the mind, the body, or the spirit, you're lacking the wholeness of everything, and your whole health is dependent upon you paying attention to all three of those things. And of course, I come in, Pastor Persephone Sonia Greer, to talk about the spiritual aspect of things, because if you're spiritually sick, you're going to be emotionally sick. And if you're emotionally and spiritually sick, you're going to be physically sick. There are things that are going to happen to you. Um, and even for me, let me be perfectly honest with y'all. With the spiritual things and the emotional things that were happening, there have been physical ramifications. Extreme weight gain, trouble losing weight, those are having to do with stress, anxiety, high cortisol levels, and my hair has been falling out. I have had thinning of my hair for almost a year now because of the levels of stress. And you really have to pay attention to these things. Thankfully, I went to my doctor's appointment today and I got my lab work, back and everything. Thankfully, my kidneys and my thyroid and my liver and everything are fine. Um, but I'm still having trouble in areas that I know are directly affected by stress. So, because of spiritual and emotional things, you get physical expressions of those things. So I love how Andrea put the three of us together to speak on night one, because we covered the mind, the body, and the spirit, and then we all of our messages intertwined with each other. So shout out to Andrea again for her masterful planning of everything. And the fact that we really have to pay attention to the whole person. Holistic health is where we need to be at. We need to be focusing on mind, body, and spirit. So, take what you need. Everything has been laid out for you, buffet style. Take what you need and use it. Actually use it. Don't just shout on it in the comments. Actually, the things that you are commenting on, the things that you remember, and the things that have permeated into your heart, actually take those things and apply them to your life, and watch how the mind, the body, and the spirit will begin to come together and work as God intended them to. So that's my 8 cents.
Love it. It sounds more like a couple dollars to me than some 8 cents. But I appreciate what you said, because I remember when I was trying to put everything together. I'm not gonna say that I was just so intentional that I was like mind, body, spirit. No, but I will say that I feel like when we talk about wellness, I feel like there's such a spiritual, like, I guess, a parallel that kind of goes hand in hand. And a lot of times I don't feel like we should have one or the other. I feel like we should have both. Just like the same way I feel with therapy. I feel like, we need both. Like, we need Jesus and therapy. We need we need both. So the duality of it is, I feel like the conversations need to be had together because they are so intertwined and so needed. Jessica, got anything?
Well, I'll piggyback off of what Pastor Griff said. I've always said, the line of complaints are long, but the line of people who are willing to make the changes is even shorter, right? And so, and so following what she said, one works hand in hand with the other. Some people get so caught up with health that their spiritual life is poor. Some people get so caught up with mental health that they neglect their physical health. But all of it works hand in hand. And so I like what Pastor Seth said. Don't just take a piece of it. Try to get something from all of it. And I know as adults, it's hard to get everything going on the right track, because once we get one thing going, something else falls apart. We're like, dang. So listen, I'm human too, and I totally understand. But we're not asking anybody to be perfect, right? But we're asking you to consider that, not to just stay in one spot, but also to look at the whole person, and look at what areas. Start small. You may start in just one area, but start small and build a habit and keep moving from there. But I also wanted to bring another point, and this is just about the conference in general. You had posted a picture, Andrea, about the grief cycle, and I didn't even think of this. And Pastor Steph talked about healing in real time in her. And you did the grief cycle. I was like, okay, Andrea has done her wellness journey through this whole women's wellness and the grief cycle. So that was like, that is awesome. I love that, because that's active healing, right? And not saying that, we know that grief, of course, is not linear, and it goes in cycle, and you may be here one day and you may be there one day, but she has created something that you can go look back on, and for any area that you're in, even if you are coming out of it, that's the next that's the next conference, right? But you can still get something from every part of it, because as intentional she has been to follow the grief cycle, she has also been intentional with the people she has placed to talk about different areas, but also in each one of those talks has been a triumph story. So that's right there. There is also you don't have to be still in grief. You can still get some of the triumph from it and learn from that. So that was one of my takeaways that I noticed even after the conference. I was like, okay, I see what she did there. So yes, that's my
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love that so much, because I remember looking at the picture of the grief cycle and like really understanding that there is no anger denial. Like there's no just like no cookie cutter way of going through the cycle. And I think the moment that I learned that is the moment that I was able to embrace the next step after grief, which is glory, which is what on night 2, to me, I feel like Pastor Samantha Cannon, like I don't even know all the words, but I'll just say she broke it down and gave me everything I needed plus more. And it really, really helped me understand the reason why I had to do the conference the way God did. Because like I said, I wasn't like, oh, let's put this here and let's do this and this is all going. It was literally God. It's God. It's all God. It's not me. But there's 2 things that I kind of wanted to bring out of what she said. And she was saying how in order for you to ascend, you have to surrender. The name of the conference is Surrendering to Ascension. And when I, had the name of the conference, I didn't know that it would go back and forth. Like I didn't really see that that okay, surrender and ascension was going to be hand in hand. I didn't see that there was going to be that, okay, yes, now you surrender, now you ascend. Okay, the only way you're going to ascend now is if you surrender. So when she said that, it just gave me so much joy and so much confidence. And then going back to night 1, when Dr. Kim talked about the sacred gap, and she kind of explained what that sacred gap was. And something that in one of her slides, it said, what if the spaces between loss and restoration is holy? I just want y'all to just sit in it. I don't know if y'all heard that when she said it, because when she said it, I was like, whoo. The space between loss and restoration is holy. The in-between often feels like failure, but this is where God forms us, heals us, and aligns us. In the middle of it. In the middle. Okay. It was so much, but I didn't want to like not have this, because I feel so strongly that there was so much and so many gems, even on night 3 with the couple. Oh my gosh, love them. Elder Kendall and Minister Marquanita. I think, when you be thinking about people's names, you just put their title with. But anyways, Elder Kendall and Minister Marquanita. Elder Kendall said something about pride and men, and it hit me. I'm not a man, but it hit me. It hit me hard. And he was just explaining to us how we have to give that up. And some places where we don't even feel like it's pride, he was like, yeah, that's pride. Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too. And then with Jessica, when she was talking about those defense mechanisms, I call them protective mechanisms, but those defense mechanisms, I was like, oh yeah, that hit me. Oh, that hit me. Oh, that hit me too. But it was so much that I don't want us to just let it hit us, but I want us to grow, heal, and align. I know I seen you, Pastor Greer, shaking your head after Jessica talked, and I do want to let you say something before we get off.
Yes, I want to say something about pride real quick because you were saying how when the elder was talking about pride and concerning men, and it hit you. And this is something we gonna have to talk about this one day. This sidebar, we're gonna talk about this. How, unfortunately, how a lot of women have had to become hyper independent and taken on masculine defense mechanisms in order to make it through, because we have been so uncovered. And there are still things that I'm realizing as a married woman that I still do as though I'm still single, because I'm so, how do you let go of pride when you're so used to being uncovered? When you're so used to being exposed, when you're so used to saying, I have no help, nobody's coming to save me. Like, we know Jesus paid it all. We ain't talking about that. We know Jesus paid it all. But as far as like the earthly realm, you have to have it in your mind, nobody's coming to save me. Because even if someone does say, hey, here's some assistance, here's some help, you don't know, because we're all human. You don't know when that assistance may withdraw, depending on their whims, depending on how they feel, depending on what's going on with them, because we're all human. So how do you let go of that pride, and how do you move into a part where you're being more in partnership with God's will for your life, instead of being prideful and saying, I got this? Because, we love to say, oh, God, I need you to show me the way. And then when you feel like you have the way, then you take away his right to have dominion over your life. You think we have it together, and then God comes in like, wait a minute. I this pride thing is really, I had a sermon one time called God Doesn't Need Your Help. And God really does not need our help. He wants our obedience. He doesn't need our assistance. He needs our obedience. He needs our acceptance of what it is he wants to do in our life. So the sidebar, we're going to talk about that another day. But I have to, when you said it hit you as a woman, I'm like, how many of us are operating in a way that is a defense mechanism, like Jessica was talking about, a defense mechanism, because we've been more uncovered than we have been covered in certain areas. But it's just, it's heavy. It's heavy.
It is.
But all of this is necessary for us to talk about.
Yeah, it is. What you don't confront will confront you. And I think that's the reason why I call them protective mechanisms instead of defense mechanisms, because a lot of times the defense mechanism, we use them to protect ourselves. I seen Jessica unmute. Oh, okay.
Yes. So was your question rhetorical? Are we making it rhetorical?
I need you to answer that for me, please.
Go ahead and answer.
I'm taking notes.
Well,
please answer
doesn't
that for me.
Go back to trust? Like, how do we drop the pride? Doesn't that go back to trust? Like, I was talking about how defense mechanisms is because we don't trust the people with whatever's going on. We don't trust outside of ourselves. And rightly so, right? But vulnerability is also that of where we know we're being vulnerable to gain, but we also know that we can invite pain. Right? And so
I'm finna go. Because you ain't finna be talking about inviting pain.
No,
but it's true.
I want to go back to, I was listening to a sermon this past weekend, and she talked about carry what counts. Sometimes we make our decision, what we are carrying is not really what we need to carry. We made a decision to carry it. And she talked about children's birthday parties, how we want this elaborate birthday party for a 1-year-old who's not even going to remember but all we need is a few people, a cake, and that's it. That's all that baby cares about. They don't really even care about it because they don't know what's going on. But we choose to take on and carry all that extra, like it's got to be perfect. We've got to have the streamers. We've got to have the bouncy house. We've got to have this, that, and that. But we take on all that and we carry that. But that is our decision. That is not what we need to carry. So the other analogy she gave was like when you go to the airport and being a missionary, you go to, say you go to Africa, the plane only allows you to carry so much, but now you're going to another place where even though you can only carry so much on the plane, that still doesn't mean all that is necessary, because where you're going, there isn't a place to plug in a hairdryer. There isn't a place to freshen up 24/7. You might be sleeping on a dirt floor, so you don't want to have all this fancy clothing, or there's dust everywhere, whatever. And so that even then condenses down what matters and what you really need to carry. So sometimes what we try to carry is not all that counts. Right? So only carry what counts. And if pride doesn't count or is not being helpful to you, then we've got to trust to let it go.
Surrender to ascension.
Yeah.
the only way that you can go up, especially in some airplanes and some elevators, if you let the baggage off.
Yes.
So the only way, and I remember my mama telling me this when I wasn't young, I was older, but I remember her telling me this, and she was like, "Dre, everybody can't come with you on the elevator." I'm like, "Well, we could make space, we could move around." Especially the people who I really want. Like, okay, well, maybe not them, but these people who I really want, they can come, right? No.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just big enough for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially on them glass elevators. We don't want them going down. Okay. We're real careful there. We're like, oh, no, you
especially on that. But I think my mom was just trying to give me the analogy.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The elevator, because that's where I was going in life. Like, I was going up, and I was trying to take some people with me that didn't want to go up. Like, they was ready to get off on their floor, and it was okay for them to get off. But this is the thing that I'm gonna add to my mama's analogy to make it congruent with what we're talking about is there's some things in me that I gotta let off.
Yeah.
Like pride. I gotta let that out.
Yeah.
But I just really, really, really thank both of you, because I feel like y'all brought so much out from what we talked about, and then kind of went into the next thing that I need to kind of, talk about and really address. And it goes back to me saying a defense mechanism is a protective mechanism, because when you haven't been covered and when you want to be covered, but you feel like you got to do the covering, that's when you start using those defense mechanisms and calling them protective mechanisms to make yourself feel better. But it's like, no, Drea, they're not protective. They're defense. And if you trust God in this area and in this area, you can trust him here too. And I think that's the thing that I'm getting to. Like, okay, where's my trust level down in God? Where do I need to build my faith up? And I feel like in the area of vulnerability and emotional, I like to call it emotionally allowing myself to be vulnerable in moments. I feel like I am a vulnerable person, but I feel like I am vulnerable with certain people, which is good, because I know we talked about that. But at the same time, I do feel like there's a level of vulnerability that I need to uncover again. Mm-hmm. Like, there's more. Yeah. Like, Dre, don't stop here. Keep going. Oh, you about to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't want to take away the fact that you shouldn't protect yourself, right? But I think a question you can ask, is it actually protection, or is it a defense? It's saying, is this meant to try to push something or somebody away who actually means me well? And I think that's how you can kind of, like, those deeper level questions to challenge yourself to see, where is it really coming from?
Yeah.
Is it coming from a place of, I don't want to be abandoned again. I don't want to have this person upset me, so I am going to defend myself against them. Or is it because this person has shown me some things that may be yellow flags, but I'm not really sure if it's actually a red flag yet. So I have to do a little bit of protection, because I need to know I haven't seen them in all the lights yet, or I haven't seen them in a certain manner to really tell me, okay, yeah, we need to
And I
step away
think
from
that's
that.
where understanding our triggers comes in, because when we do understand our triggers, we will understand, okay, this is the question that I need to ask myself now. Drea, are you safe? And I remember the first time that I asked myself that after my therapist told me to start doing it. And I broke down crying, because I'm like, I did not feel safe. And I'm like, okay, so the next question, what about where you are right now is making you feel unsafe? And remember, you are safe. Like, even if you don't feel it, because the one thing that I had to, especially with my emotional, beautiful being that I am, I had to, I guess, uncover was, just because I've been single so long, it doesn't mean that God hasn't covered me in my singleness. It doesn't mean that I've been uncovered. It just means that I haven't been covered by a significant other. But I have had pastors that cover me. I've had my father that covers me. Some of my brothers in Christ that have covered me. So I have to stop looking at what I don't have and embrace what I do have. I don't know how we made this about me, but let's just
No, this is good. This is good. This is a part of the vulnerability.
This is definitely a part of the vulnerability.
Yes.
I think when Pastor Greer said, as single women, I think that's what you had started to say. But yeah, I think that's what I came in. I was like, oh yes.
But here's the tea. Yes. Some married women feel like that too.
Yes, because they've been single for a long time before getting married.
And it's a hard thing, especially when what had taken place in my marriage happens. Then it's like, oh my God, everything sets back to zero. Because what you thought you knew and what you thought you felt and what you thought was safe is no longer safe. Well, so it's like starting the clock back all over again.
Well, I think instead of us saying starting it back over again, it's us taking our eyes off the man and putting it on the one who's really supposed to be our safety net. Because even in marriage, we have to go back to God.
Absolutely.
Even in marriage, even though it's the husband and God, even in marriage, especially when there's that type of thing, God's like, rely back on me, rely on me, come to me. Don't put him at 0, put me at 100.
That part, and that's what helps to rebuild in any relationship, any form of relationship that you want to maintain and that you want God to bless. You have to take it back to the safety in Him, because human beings are funny. They real funny. Even when the relationship is healthy, there's still things that happen because we're human. Misunderstandings happen, dropped balls happen, and there's just so many subtle and sometimes not so subtle nuances that go on in friendships, sister, brother, sibling relationships, work relationships, ministry relationships. There's so many different things. So you're right. Every everything still has to go back to God. No matter what amount of safety a person has built up with you, God still has to have the top priority. He always has to be at the top. He always has to be the first one that you run to. He always has to be. And I think trusting too is difficult because we have a savior we can't see. And it's like in our human minds, the concept of what we believe and what we hope for, we're still, even though we believe what we believe, even though we know who Jesus is and we love who Jesus is, and we love the fact that the tomb is empty, child. It's empty. Okay.
Amen.
The
Hallelujah.
tomb is empty.
Hallelujah.
Okay. You know, the cross was bloody and the tomb was empty. All right. Even with knowing that, I think we rely so much on our human to human relationships because we can't see our Savior. And even in truth be told, even the ones that could physically see him when he was walking this earth, they couldn't see him either. Because humans are funny. We're weird like that. We can see things right in front of our faces and still be like, but is that really? So God had to do it like this. And with things that happen between human beings, it's a constant reminder, look up. Because you see a lot going on over here and over here and over here. You have to keep looking up to me. You have to keep your eyes on me. Peter didn't sink until he realized that he was out in an unfamiliar place. And he asked permission to come out into that place. And he still freaked out when he realized he was in that place, because humans are funny.
And the main thing was, he said, if it's you, Lord.
That part.
Because he was still, like you said, we can't see.
Yes.
One of the reasons why I wrote my book, Blinded Without Blinders. It's a plug. It's on Amazon. But there was one thing that was said. Yeah. There was one thing that was said. What'd you say?
I said promo. Let's go.
Come on.
Let's do it.
Listen, there was one thing that was said is we have to release control and surrender to God's plan. I think with everything that we talked about, with the protective mechanisms, with us being single, even in all of those moments, and then coming into marriage, and then, you know, something happening in your marriage, it's something, or if you're not married and you just have a relationship, something happening in that relationship where there's a broken down of trust, or where there's something where you feel unsafe. Even in myself, when I had that moment, I had to remember, Dre, you're not in control. God is. And he's going to cover you even in this. And that is the one main reason why we have to surrender to ascension, because God's not down. He's up. Okay, I'm finished. I love you guys. I thank you. I hope that in this recap and in us having our, you know, conversations, something was said where that you can kind of eat off of and say, let's explore these conversations, because conversations birth new seasons, and having the right conversation around the right people can birth a new season in your life. A season of joy, season of abundance, season of healing. Have an amazing day. Thank you. Bye.